Hello and welcome back to another episode of Tash Teaches. I'm Tash, and in today's video I'd like to show you something rather cool you can do with MIDI channels in Bitwig. So without further ado, let's jump right in and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. I created a simple drum pattern and a 4-chord chord progression on a sine wave polymer. Let's take a quick listen to what we've got. Very nice. Now, I've also got 5 different omnisphere patches here. Let's take a quick listen to just playing like a C major on each of them. Now, they're all quite pad-like in their essence, but they've all got different timbres that I would like to be able to incorporate all of into playing these chords. If I go back to what I've got here, I've also got a pad. Let me just quickly change this back to what it was. I've also got all of these 5 instruments loaded into an instrument layer, or in Ableton you'd call it, say, an instrument rack. And if I were to just play again what we've got on the sine wave, I could also then play this through all 5 of these synths. Let's take a listen to what that sounds like. Of course, this is the same as having the MIDI clips be the same on every single one of these, but one thing which is quite cool about Bitwig, you may or may not know, is that any form of layer, whether it's an instrument layer, an audio effect layer, or a note effect layer, can be converted to a selector. And when you have it in a selector, you can pick which one of the devices inside it is being used at any one point. So if I were to press play now, you'll see that I can now play the whole thing through just this analog patch, or I could pick just the choir. I don't just have to use the arrows, I can also just click on any of these grey dots to enable them. That's beautiful. But what if I wanted to pick each one of these patches? I'd like for it to just have one voice of the chord. Seeing as I have 5 notes in every chord at any one point, and I have 5 patches loaded into this instrument selector, it would be nice to be able to just distribute these notes out to the different instruments. And of course I could change the mode of the instrument selector from manual to, say, round robin or free voice. They're all going to behave quite similar. But let's try, for example, round robin. All that's going to do is it's going to say, okay, well, if there are 5 voices, evenly distribute them amongst the 5 available. And when the next one is needed, it's just going to take from whatever is the next available voice. So let's listen now. You can hear already it's far more spacious because each one of these is only playing one voice. If I were to do this, we can now hear that the choir, for example, is just basically a melody now. And what it's doing is it's automatically splitting this chord up so that each one of these is playing a melody that fuses together to create these delicious chords. However, there is one issue that we tend to run into a lot of the time with these kind of selectors, which is that maybe I want for analog, maybe I want for this patch that I've loaded in here, maybe I want for that to always be the lowest note. And maybe I want for the bell sound, this guy over here, maybe I want for this to always be playing the 5th note, which in this case is probably going to be like the 9th or something. Well, there's no way using the selector for me to manually, other than maybe with a CC, but it's going to be a bit finicky. There's no way for me to pick which one of these gets which voice. And another issue is if you've got, say, 5 fairly large CPU usage hoggers in here, whether that's a diva patch or some sort of big granular grid patch you've created, you're going to start to run into a few CPU issues by trying to play all of these things on one channel. As far as I understand it, Bitwig actually splits the however many CPU cores you've got, it splits the amount of channels so that if you have 4 channels each one of them gets sent to its own CPU core, which just means that you spread it out. Whereas if you have everything loaded into one patch, like I've often tried to do where I want to create an entire song generator and one channel of the grid, I start to run into some pretty serious CPU issues. So by putting things on separate channels, that enables us to use far more plugins and far more stuff. But we could, of course, go in here and put these chords onto every single one of these and say, okay, well, I want for analog to be just the lowest notes. So I could go in and I could delete these, and there we go. I've got my bass notes. But I don't want to faff around like that. And I also want to always maintain a view of the entire chord. This is where the ability to send notes out of different MIDI channels in Bitwig is very helpful. At the moment, if you click on any one of these notes, you can see that the channel that it's being sent out of, in fact, if I highlight all of them, you can see they're all being sent out of channel 1. If I want to, I can send them out of channel 15. But what I'm going to do is keep them on channel 1. And most of the time, the clip that you load up, the notes are going to be, regardless of velocity, regardless of channel, they're going to be the same color as the clip. If I made this blue, you can now see that all of the notes inside are blue. But we have the ability to change what we're seeing with the color-based information with these notes. So if we right-click anywhere but a note, we have down here note colors, 4 different options. If I pick note channel, now red indicates that we're on channel 1, and if we were to go up, you'll see that now the channels change. Now we're on channel 3, and we've got a slightly different shade of yellow. And this, of course, gives us the ability to not just in one MIDI clip pick which channel the notes are going out of, but also visually see it. So I'm going to say take these next 2 up, and I'm going to put those onto channel 2. Then I'll take the third, and I'll put that onto channel 3. Then we've got this layer, which of course is going to be channel 4, and then our final top layer here will be sent out of channel 5. And very neatly, we can now see which note is going out of which channel. This also then means on another instrument, so let's take, say, this analog instrument, this now means that I can select the MIDI, the note input, to be coming from our pad MIDI. And so long as I have it either record enabled or I have it set to just automatically on monitoring, if I were to press play now, and also let me just mute everything on this instrument. Let's just deactivate everything we've got on there. Now you can hear that we've got the chords coming through on the analog channel. But we're getting all of the notes in the chord, and of course we only want for this analog channel to be the lowest note here. So we're going to need to pick not just where the MIDI is coming from, but which channel we want to be listening to. And currently it's set to all. So all we need to do is select 1, and there we go. We've now got the bass coming through there. Now we have to do the same thing with the other layers. So I'm going to go choirs, pad MIDI. Obviously this has to be channel 2. Let's put it onto automatic. Go here to pad MIDI and channel 3. Channel 4 and turn that bad boy on. And then let's go final for the bell, pad MIDI and on. This has got to be channel 5. And now you'll hear that this is perfectly distributed amongst its voices. Really beautiful. And of course we can leave the chords exactly as they are, but if we wanted to change, say, octaves, we could either do it on the instrument itself, or I actually want to bring this this analog, I want to bring this down an octave. That's just adding like a nice low end to it. Maybe this mud, I'd also like to bring that down an octave. This is just the equivalent of sort of inverting the chord a bit. Sounds really nice. I might just make this omnisphere, this lowest voice monophonic. Let's just put that to 1. Really lovely. I've also got just a simple pluck sound here. Let's just put this to all in so we can play it. It's just an arpeggiator doing eighth notes. And actually, I think I'd like to just put the... Nice. So I could say that I also would like to take the MIDI information here from pad MIDI there, and I'm just going to select input 1, and that will now give us just a sort of rolling bass as well, so long as I put this on. And then of course any changes that I make here will be properly reflected across as many channels as I'm sending these things to. Of course, we don't just have to keep this for pads. If you'd like to download the project files that I create in these tutorial videos, as well as some rather cool exclusive sample packs and presets that I've created, on top of also being able to join in the monthly live streams, such as the track breakdowns, the live masterclass workshops that I'm doing, as well as the Feedback Friday, where you can submit your songs for live constructive criticism from moi on the air, then I would love if you would join my new music production and creative mindset community, Tash Tribe. You can find info about that down below in the description. But anyways, back to the video. If I were to duplicate this out, and I'm going to just add a couple of non-omnisphere instruments. Let's just delete it like this. This will be quicker. If I were to take let's take just a simple polysynth and make it nice and tight. 24. Let's see what this sounds like. That'll do. I'm just going to copy and paste this across to every one of these voices temporarily. So even though we have a long sustained pad sound here, I'm just going to mute that for a second. If I were to now press play on this, let's call it ARP channel now, I don't have to just have long sustained notes, particularly if I have like a short plucky sound here. So maybe I'm just going to mute everything but this lowest voice. Let's just rename these so we know what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5. And let's now take some sort of rhythm distributor. We could take a note repeats, do something Euclidean in here. Let's have a look at that. Okay, now let's add the next layer, and we'll do an arpeggiator for this, I think, and we'll do something with the velocity like this. Super cool. Let's do something on the third layer now. I might do another note repeats here, but let's rotate it and do maybe a 6th notes. We've got the 4th layer. Maybe this one should just in fact be something very small, like just triplets. Not even triplets, but 3 out of 16 Euclidean. And then we've got this top layer, which is going to be maybe, let's do like a dotted note. We'll do like a dotted 8th note. Super cool. Let's mute that bass for a second. And let me check that these are coming out of the actual pad MIDI. Let's see if I were to... yeah, I think if I were to select the first pad MIDI, then anything that I do to adjust that original MIDI clip is going to affect everything in the project file, which is just a really nice way of working, I find, because it means that then instead of having all of these confused, extrapolated harmonic and melodic ideas in all different clips. It's like, this could be here now our MIDI. So this is our pad clip. In fact, let's just do it like this. Pad, make all of these blue. And then we've got here our ARP. I'll make that a different shade of blue. But of course, all of these are now being contacted by this little patch here. So if I were to make any changes, like let's try this. Doesn't actually sound great, but you know what I mean. It means that you can change multiple things at once. If I were to now bring in the pad as well as the bass, bloody wonderful. Just to show you a different concept as well, I'm also just going to go into scalar here and we'll find a few more chords. So let's go into, say, songs, and I'm going to do cinematic. Let's do sad ending. I'm just going to take a couple of chords. I'm just going to paste these in. I like those ones. Okay, so if I were to now take, how do I put these all into one? I'll copy and paste that into here. And we'll copy and paste U into here, just double the length of that. Yep, nice. And then we've got this guy. And then finally we've got this guy. And in fact, I'm just going to do that half the length. Nice, so there we go. We've got another chord progression now that all we have to do is, by default, if I were to turn off scalar now, by default now everything is being played everywhere. It sounds awful. So what we want to do is first pick which voices go out of which. So this bottom one is obviously going to be our bass layer. Let's take the next layer up, send that out of channel 2. The next layer up we'll send it out of channel 3. And of course we've got this one, which is going to be channel 4. Wait, what's going on here? You need to be 1. And you need to be 2. You're 3. 4, and then this is a 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Channel 4. 4, and channel 5 can be on this one. Yeah, and of course not every voice has to have 5 layers. Is this an octave of something? Maybe we'd like for that to actually also be channel 5. We'll get that going out of the bell layer. So let's take a quick listen to what we've got now with this perfectly distributed. Might want to shift the whole thing up an octave. Let's also duplicate the length of this clip. Super nice. Look how much CPU we're using. Maybe it'd be quite a good idea to go in here and do some sort of fun things. Let's take a random. And in fact, let's do a group-based random. So I'm just going to go here onto the ARP layer itself. That will just be a little easier to copy all these things across. Let's just do random first. We'll do some stuff with the decay. Do it on every layer. Interestingly, of course, I'm not going to be able to do any note-based effects if I do it for the group. So I'm going to do them actually on the instrument themselves. Do random note and hold. Do a couple on there. Let's do something also moving, perhaps. The blend of... So now we've got some squares. Let's take this guy. Maybe we could do something with a note counter here. Maybe opening. Cool. And we've got another voice here. Let's do something with an LFO, changing the... If we make this into a sub, or at least into a square wave, let's do something changing the pulse width. Let's take this voice, and this one we could do something with the random as well. Hold and note. Let's make a few of these to do some strange things. Maybe we'll do something with the release like that. The point is, I just want to make this a little bit more organic and changing over time. This needs to be shortened a bit. Then we've got the top layer. This one, why don't we also make this a couple of, like a sort of stepwise motion. Let's put a reverb on here. Really beautiful. Let's go back and try our other chord progression. Super nice. So yeah, playing around with creating sort of a chord megaclip and then picking which one of these notes is going out which channel, and then across your project file taking a variety of different instruments and taking those instruments and having them receive just a specific voice of those chords is a great way of being able to maintain a sort of holistic control of the project, but at the same time have that sort of professional touch of things not being too cluttered. Well folks, that's sadly all we have time for today, but I do hope that this video was useful. If you enjoyed it, remember to like, comment and subscribe, and smash that notifications button to keep up to date with all of my future videos too. If you'd like to download the project files that I create in these tutorial videos, as well as some rather cool exclusive sample packs and presets that I've created, on top of also being able to join in the monthly live streams, such as the track breakdowns, the live masterclass workshops that I'm doing, as well as the Feedback Friday, where you can submit your songs for live constructive criticism from moi on the air, then I would love if you would join my new music production and creative mindset community, Tash Tribe. You can find info about that down below in the description, but anyways, back to the video.